Again, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to write down a couple things. How do I get people to come in person? How do I get people to ditch class? How do I get, how do I handle the objection? How do I need to communicate to Phil and Patrick that there's this one situation with this one person? What is the system? What's the SOP for me to let Phil and Patrick know this is a situation for this person? Here's an example. I still don't get it, but I think what it is in our office is a 1-star person, and you can only star someone after they're scheduled.
No, you can do it before.
Okay, but before, during, whenever.
You just have to edit it.
A star thing for us, a 1-star means day 1 online training.
No.
Day 1 means, one means they're gonna be late to day 1. Day 2-star means online training for day 1.
Right.
And 3 means online training for day 3. Whatever. That's the system that apparently my office has had, because Shay did it and Bucky and she did it. And now it's something that's continued. I'm certain, Bucky, that I don't think Isaac knows that. I don't think Faith knows that. So this is for our TLA that aren't even here, and for us to discuss, so that we have that system or a system that it doesn't matter if it's the same code that you guys use in Southern Rockies. It doesn't matter to me, but there should be some form of like everybody in one office or any hub. I think the whole hub should at least have that. So like Shay and if like Sarah was open right now, we would want to have everybody know the codes. Okay. Maybe your code is, I'm going to put a note on anyone, but the problem, that's why we do the 1, 2, 3, because you don't have to open up a note on a training log to know what the situation is. Well, there was something else I was going to say there. So again, the objective right now that we're talking about is in the next month to month and a half or 2 months, we're going to get you guys scripting training. I want to recognize Bucky, who's got a page and a half. I don't know what that is in the script, but this is unreal. This is not Bucky, by the way. Do you guys see this? It's crazy, unbelievable. I almost was like, I can read this better than I can read printed material. Okay. Like this is better than typing. I can read this better than the chat box. Okay. Yeah. Connor, look at this shit talkie. Okay. Why can't you guys be more like Faith? Okay. Cause this is Faith's scripted interview. I'm literally blown away. She's at a family thing in like another state right now. And Bucky did get it done. I think I said script the whole interview by today. Am I right? And are you done with it? No. Okay. So recognition for Faith, Bucky, as well as working on it. That's it. I don't have anything from Isaac. I don't have anything from a lot of other people. I also will fault myself because I have not followed up. And she's in 21 credits as a softball player, softball manager, and an assistant manager. Okay. So I'm telling you, she walks around like she can't handle life all the time. She is so stressed. It's unreal. Like I want to hug her every time, like, you pathetic soul. Right. And it's like, so like disheartening for me to watch, and it's inspiring at the same time. Okay. And we've had a couple crying moments. I don't think she would mind me saying that in front of you guys.
That's when you know you're growing.
It's when you know you're growing. That's great. But even though that's happening, I'll go back to the 5 jobs, right? Sell Cutco to pay your bills, get paid to run the office as an assistant manager, study Vector like it's a class, right? And well, I can't even think right now, and then have a life, right? Like they'll do things, and she's doing all of those things at a pretty good level, right? Pretty high level. So she cries. And if you're not crying, you're probably not trying very much. Okay. Or hard enough, I'll say. If you're like, oh, I'm good, like you got amazing self-regulation, but you also probably, I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. Yeah, you need to be emotionally like, exhausted, I guess you could say, because the people that do that in life, they let it out a little bit, but they're performing at a high level. So they're experiencing that at a healthy level. They're stretching their body, stretching their mind. Running an office will be easy. It really will. Okay. And running a highly performing office won't be much harder than running a low performing office. There's a quote somewhere that says that it's actually harder to live a life of mediocrity than it is to lead an extraordinary life, because it gets you out of bed. Getting really massive results is energizing. It's energy sucking when you're mediocre. Right? Okay. Back to this. So the objective right now, because in December, it's like script training, script training, script training, script training. If for no other reason, if something changes or we decide at some point you're running your own training, or you're running training with one office and that's it, no other offices, or whatever we decide to do at any given moment, the better you are at training, two things. One, you'll be better at running your training. Two, you'll actually be a better rep manager, because you'll know exactly what they're doing wrong, because they'll say like two things. I'm running out of people. No, you don't. You haven't bothered to work on your names list. You're not running out of anybody. You've done 6 demos. You can't run out of anything when you've only done 6. But reps say that crap, and they're not done. They're just clueless, right? So you have to you can diagnose stuff, right? When you really know what's going on, and you'll know that by running training and running training and scripting training. Well, in 45 days, you're scripting training. That means right now you have 45 days to dominate and master the interview. And that means if you haven't scripted it, you're behind. Right? Makes sense? So I want you guys to make sure that you get your scripting done. And then again, let's figure out what I did with Faith when I ran the interview and she watched me, is I FaceTimed her on my phone and set my phone like this right next to my computer. And she literally watched me, and only watched me. She didn't even see the applicants, and she watched me post. Okay. And I'm going to say that's a best thing I could, watching it live. And then we discussed a couple things in between the posts. Okay. In the old days when Bucky was a new manager, I used to have him watch, and then I'd send people back into they'd leave or for the pre-screen, and they would watch me run all these pre-screens or watch me run all these posts. And in between the posts, I would say, did you see what I did? Did you see what I did? You notice this? Did you notice this? And so again, if you watch an interview, you should watch every post, or as many posts interviews as possible, because one interview brings 2, 4, 5, 8, 10 posts. You learn the post a lot better. Okay. But again, the goal is, how do we get in the next 45 days to be really efficient with the interview? And 50 to 60, 50 show, 50% show, 60% launch. How do we do it? All right. So that being said, we're recording again, and so I'm assuming that it's recording this and not the main breakout room or the main room of the training group. Tried to do that a few times on accident. Okay. So tell me what's on your mind. What do we need to work on? What do you need help on? Let's go with Kirsten.
My biggest thing right now is handling another job objection of why they're not showing the day one.
Handling the other job objection?
Yeah.
Good. So let's assume we've accepted the person already.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already accepted the person. Congratulations, Kirsten. So I'm now the manager, and you're gonna throw stuff at me, okay?
Okay.
So do you know what your job is and when your schedule is?
Yeah.
Okay, so use an example of someone you came up with or that you had happen. Okay.
Well, typically my objection isn't in the post. It's when they're when we send the text message of confirming them that they got the email, then they'll text me personally hey, this isn't gonna work. I have my other job conflict. And they don't tell me in the post that they have another job until after the fact of when they're supposed to be showing.
Okay,
I would ask them in the post. Like, well, you're building rapport.
Mhm.
hey
Just-
Kirsten, will you take notes right now? Because I'm open to literally putting this in the interview script.
Mhm.
Because in some weeks or even months, our whole division is a 29% show to training, and we can't get worse. So we could sing Mary Had a Little Lamb in the post, and it's not going to change the results. Okay, so adding some stuff into the post, I'm totally open for it, because there are some weeks where collectively everybody, like Spider-Man right now, pointing at each other, we're all getting 29% show to training, even if one week Jesse's office does better, or we launch 68%, beat everybody in the launch percentage, right? So, all right, so Kirsten, you're typing, and Shay, you're saying what you would answer that with.
So I usually always either in the rapport building, because they mention it in their questions, or when I'm going over their previous jobs. And I'm like, okay, if you've had this experience before in the past, blah, blah, blah. It'll just kind of come up in the mix of rapport building, right? And then if it doesn't, then when I am like going over scheduling, I just ask them, what conflicts like would you have?
So that's the first one I would type in there, at least, is now I notice, yeah, I know we have training blah 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 times. I know that you're not in school, so an easy question would be, what do you have in your schedule that might conflict with those times?
Yeah,
So that's an easy question, okay, Kirsten? What do you have in your schedule that might conflict with those times?
and a lot of the times they'll just be like, oh, well, I have this or this, and if they have another job, they'll bring it up. But if they're like too shy for some reason not to bring up that they have another job, then I would give them a list of ideas. Okay, so you have no birthdays, doctor's appointments, you don't have another job. And if I go through those lists, and if they do mention it, then I work with.
Salt Lake City people. Did you get that, Kirsten? Sorry.
Yeah.
We're managing the training classes. That's ending day 2 in a second. Okay, so we got some stuff there. The old day, again, Bucky knows this, we had paper application. Before they went into the group interview, we knew their work schedule, because the paper application says other job schedule. And they would write in other job where they work and what their schedule is. They would write in their school schedule in some cases. So we actually kind of sort of had it on paper. Well, if we had it, we had it on paper, of what they had that was conflicting with training at this point. And you knew that before they went into the group interview, because you did a pre-screen and you knew that. So you actually knew who had schedule conflicts somewhat before you even posted them. So that's foreign to you, Shay. Okay. And I think it's really valuable what she just said there is straight up asking. I always ask, hey, you're a student at BY, at U of U in biomedical engineering, you're a junior. So what's that schedule like? And what conflicts do you have? It's funny because we used to like teach the opposite of this, of you don't want to know, you just want to like, oh, you good? You're good. And like you'd confirm it and they would just be like, I'm good. But it's actually I found it to be detrimental, opposite result of by not discussing it, by not scratching the itch, it turns into an infection or something. I'm making an example that I don't even know what I'm talking about. Okay. But you get my point, right? So you go the route of going to the assumption that they probably have something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because everybody has.
Okay.
I've met like 5 people that never not have it.
Nothing else going on. Okay. I'll just remind you that the objection or the concept of handling the objection before it comes up, when the value is high enough, people will ditch whatever they need to ditch.
Mhm.
They'll ditch class finals. They'll ditch anything if they really want to.
Well, and also, if they're not, some people I found are weird about telling another job that they already have a job.
Mhm.
And so then they just won't mention it at all. So I think it's important, and it's in the script, when it's like, some people have another job, they'll work on the weekends, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I'll add in there, so for those of you that have another job, great.
Mhm.
And I'll kind of just mention like, that's okay, that's great. And then it kind of like weirdly calms them down
Mm.
for those of them that,
That's fair.
but I don't know. People are
Okay.
weird. That's what I've just.
I don't think it's weird at all. It's totally normal. Okay. You're saying they're weird because they don't tell you. Okay. So, all right. So back to me. I'm going to role play, Kirsten. So I'll go with the idea that I know they have another job. Okay. So, I will say that on Tuesday nights, because we send do you guys do the Tuesday night training? Due to the number that we have scheduled every week, in most cases, all I do is I respond to the positive responses. I kind of left Shay when she was pilot, Bucky, and Patrick right now to handle whatever issues there are. I'm not going to focus on that because they're going to enter the stuff on Vector Live anyway, probably. And they also interviewed most of them. And so I'm just all about, hey, I'm Phil, by the way, super excited to have you on the team. When I respond, however, one thing I'll have you jot down, and we'll figure out some of this stuff, is do not handle these objections by text. Here's what I'll say. Right now, we kind of are, and we have that many set for training. Shane can understand that, knows that. Being pilot, having been pilot, it's easier, Bucky. I'm talking to you specifically right now, but it's easier once someone says, I've got an issue with blah, blah, blah. Oh, hold on. Let me give you a call real quick. We'll talk about it. Just pick up the phone and call their butts. Because now you have tone of voice. Now you have rapport building. Now you have connecting. Oh, do you know this person? Oh, that's awesome. And like all of a sudden, the conversation, live conversation, is going to be way better than doing it through text. Okay, Kirsten? So, oh, you have another job. I don't think I knew that. So don't wait till Wednesday morning to call them. If you have the ability to call them Tuesday, right after they text you that they're not coming to training because they have another job. Oh my gosh, really? Do you have a second? Let me, can I give you a call real quick? Just so I understand what's going on. And all you gotta do is get them on the phone. I'll tell you right now, you get them on the phone, you talk live, you guys realize it's a lot easier to flake on a text. That's why people break up with their girlfriend on text, right? Right? It's easier to do that than to talk live on the phone, let alone see each other in person, right? Okay, now back to role playing. So Kirsten, so you have another, this is me in the post. I just accepted you, right, Kirsten?
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations, super excited about working with you. So now, would you do me a favor real quick, Kirsten? I gave the times to the next training seminar. I would like to put you in that next seminar. So can you just make sure that I told you the times and that you wrote them down correctly? Can you just run me through that? What time did you have for training?
Yeah, so I have Wednesday from 2 to 7, Thursday 12 to 8,
Okay.
and then Friday 9 to 3.
Okay, good. So I said the times right. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, now do me a favor, Kirsten. Will you do this? Write down on day 1, 2 to 7, day 1. Write down Zoom. So day 1 is awesome because we're just going to be on Zoom. You can do your training day 1 from your apartment, from your dorm, from the classroom at the school, right where you were today looks fine. You could just do that for day 1 of training. And so we'll just want you to get on Zoom like 10 minutes early, 15 minutes early. We'll send you an email on Tuesday with some quick instructions and preparation for training. Does that make sense, Kirsten?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so day 1, you can be right in your laptop, right where you were today or wherever you want to be. Day 2 is actually in the office. And I think I mentioned this in the interview for a second. We're right off 90th South and I-15. Okay, Kirsten. It's on the southwest kind of corner or quadrant of that area. And so we're just south of the Standard Plumbing on the 3rd West. 300 West is the road that goes right next to the highway. I could literally throw a rock from our office onto the road, onto the highway. That's how close we are. Okay. All right. Now, and then next thing, would you, Kirsten, will you go ahead and write down day 2 and day 3 are going to be in person. So I'm looking forward to those days. I love those days because that's the day where everyone gets together and we hang out and we bond. This is what I say. Okay, Kirsten. So like, I'm assuming you didn't say this in Grand Junction, right? So we get together in person and we hang out and we bond. By the way, I'm going to feed you. So that's exciting, hopefully. We do a lot of chopping. You get a chance to eat a lot of fruit and vegetables because we use the knives and we chop it all up and eat it. And then we also get some other food. It's actually my favorite day of training. It's a lot of power packed stuff and everybody always loves it. So we have a lot of fun. Okay. So that's day 2. And then day 3 is also going to be in person. I think I just said that. And that's 9 to 3. Now, okay, you got that?
Mhm.
Okay, now real quick, Kirsten, by the way, day 3 is like a really strong day for review. So it builds a lot of our, our reps' confidence goes through the roof on day 3, because they get a lot of review before training is over. Okay. Now, Kirsten, I know you have school right now, or I think I saw that you work at another job. Do you have another job?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. And what is it?
Um,
You shave cats? Okay. All right. You shave
Yeah.
cats. Okay. Good for you. That's fun. Awesome. And by the way, that's not going to be a problem with us. I love saying that because now they're like, oh, when my boss at my other shaving cats job gives me crap, I'd rather work for Phil anyway. So I say, hey, that's not going to be a problem with us at all. Okay. So we'll support you in that. Obviously, we'd love to see you make a lot of cash here. So around that job, we'll just motivate you, help you make sure you make some good money and, get the experience that you want to get out of this job. Okay. Make sense, Kirsten?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Now, with the other job, when are your shifts next week?
Typically they happen on Thursday nights around like 4 to 10 and Friday mornings because I don't have class during then.
Wow, they must be really shaving a lot of cats for the raves that they go to.
Yeah, they are.
And so, all right. So, all right. So you said Thursday night and Friday night?
Friday morning. Thursday
Friday
night. Friday
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Now today is Tuesday. So you have what, 48 hours roughly until your Thursday shift,
morning.
and half a day until this Friday shift. So let me ask you, what if you don't mind me asking, what do you get paid? $17?
Yeah.
Yeah, shaving cats. Okay, good. All right, so $17. So that's gonna be some money. Obviously, it's a little bit of a sacrifice. But I'll tell you, with our base pay, the least you're gonna make this. I mean, most of our reps like to do at least 10 appointments on the weekend, like the example I gave in the interview. And if you did 10 appointments on the weekend, you make $210 really pretty fast. You know what I mean, this weekend. And most of our reps strive to get double-digit appointments, like 10 appointments by Monday. So almost all of them, when they do what we teach them, they'll make $200 to $400 in their first weekend. Okay, so what I'll tell you is that the investment of time and energy for you to be at training, it will pay you dividends literally on your first paycheck will be you'll get it on the 13th. It's actually Friday, a week from Friday. You're actually gonna get a paycheck on Friday the 13th. So that's kind of fun. And so if you do 10 appointments by Monday, on the lowest scale of income you can have, you're gonna make $210. So that's why a lot of our reps try to do more appointments in their first weekend to get off to a fast start. So let me ask you this, because the training is so important. I think like at other jobs, i.e. shaving cats, if we had a lot of cats to shave and you weren't available, Kirsten, we would just find somebody else to do the shaving. Okay. So that'd be fine. In other words, your boss might even give you a little guff about missing a shift. But here's the thing, Kirsten, you're a sharp person. And really, I want to explain, nobody can learn the training for you. Like shaving cats, we can get somebody to shave cats for you, but no one's going to learn the information for you. My job is to help you get all the information so you can get off to a fast start. Okay. So, and I say fast start in the post almost every single time because I want them like subconsciously remembering that when they show up to training. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. So we can continue this obviously without Shay, but we're recording it anyway. So where was I now? So where was I?
No one can learn the information.
Yeah, no one can learn the information for you. And now I was gonna say Shay. So it's kind of like I'm not that boss that's gonna give you guff for missing your shift, because that means I have to do it or someone else has to do it, and I got to find someone to cover your shift, right? This is a situation where no one can actually cover this for you because you're the only one that can learn it. So I'm gonna work with you, Kirsten, but I would like to make sure you're working with me because I promise you the energy and effort that you put into this training, when you follow what we teach you, you'll actually experience way higher income than anything, $210 or $21 is going to get you anywhere. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so now Thursday being the first time that you have a work with issue, I'll tell you what, day 1 in our training and day 3, we have a little bit of wiggle room and leeway, and we have some videos that we can have you make up stuff. Have you ever done like an online lecture before at Mesa
Yeah.
State? Yeah. So that's what it's going to be like for a little bit of training if we need to do that. But I'll tell you right now, I'd love to have you in the office, and I'd love to get to know you more and really, help you integrate into the rest of the team and stuff like that. So hopefully we can just make this work where you can just come to training. So what I will say is it's Tuesday. You can email your professor, right, Kirsten? Or
Yeah.
you can email your other job. You can email,
Yeah.
but if you can call them after this, and just basically what you want to do, Kirsten, is just tell them, hey, it's a one-time training, because we're not going to make you work any hours that you don't want to work. No one in our company makes you work more hours than you want to work or different. We just, what I want you to do is, shoot them an email, tell them the situation, tell them that you have a training that you have to be at. Instead of like asking for permission, Kirsten, I want to help you just get this taken care of so you can just be here, because I want to get to know you too. If you just, send them a message, I'm going to miss, this, going to have this shift. I have to cover this, this other training, right? So you got a couple days. Can you work on that real quick, Kirsten, today?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what I'd like you to do is, if it's a major issue, just literally text me. Here's my phone number, blah, blah, blah. And then we can have another phone call about what we could do better, what we can figure out. Okay, got it, Kirsten?
Yep.
Any comments on that? Again, I'm a little delirious right now.
It's 13 minutes long.
What's that?
That took 13 minutes.
And I'm teaching, right, along the way. It's not,
Still.
it's not,
It's
sure.
for a
Yeah.
post to be able to spend that much time with a student. Makes
It
that
takes-
the people
Sure.
wait.
But I'd rather take bird in the hand worth two in the bush, right? And I'm going to work with my top people first, and I can do a couple callbacks. And again, I was delirious just now, and that's why I'm standing up right now, running training in 4 hours and all these other things. Okay. And I will say that you are doing yourself the favor of handling the objection before it comes up. What are your thoughts, Shay or Kirsten?
I really like some of the comments of like there's wiggle room, but like I want to work with you if you work with me.
Mhm.
And I know I've said that in the past, and I honestly don't know why I haven't said it recently. And then just like reframing that if you do like 10 appointments in the weekend, which is not that difficult for anybody, you'd make $210, which is more than what you'd make at that other job with missing the shift that you have.
Yeah. And by the way, that's not even counting sales. Most of our reps make way more money.
Yeah.
Back to role play. Most of our reps make way more than the base pay. But even on the base pay, any lost wages you have at your other job get made up pretty fast after training. So they're like, oh, well, then I can still pay my bills. Awesome. I hate that job anyway. Right? Shaving cats. Okay. You guys should look at the movie Just Go With It. And he shaves the sheep. Oh, he shaves the sheep. Okay, so all right. So that's a start to it. Now I use the example of selling someone off the cleaver to sell them a hearty slicer. Sell them off the veggie knife by selling them the petite santoku, selling them off the ultimate and guaranteeing a signature sale. Does everyone get that analogy? And I do the same thing with training, whether it's a student, Kirsten, or whether it's someone has another job. I say, so tell me your conflict. So again, I go right to the conflict. I say, so real quick, I know you're a student at Mesa State. So tell me, what hours of each day are there any type of potential conflicts with your school schedule, Kirsten? Wednesday, we start school at 2. Are you done with school? What time are you done with school on Tuesday, Wednesday?
Do you want me to have a conflict with Wednesday?
You're done at 1? You're done
Yeah.
at, or let's say they're done at 3.
Okay.
So what are they missing? They're missing intros and like 4 slides and Jesse's story about cutting his hand on his demo. Like that's it, right? That's
Yeah.
literally what they miss. I go, okay, so all right, so tell you what, that hour when you show up a couple minutes late, you're gonna be fine. You're just gonna jump on Zoom. I mean, it's on Zoom anyway. Honestly, if you were to finish training at 2:50, finish school at 2:50, go to the study room in that same building, one of those little tiny rooms where you can study, and just flip on Zoom, and you'll be a little late. I'm gonna mark it in your notes right now that you're gonna be a little late to train. For our office, it's a 1, it's star 1 or a 1 star, right? Okay, does that make sense, Kirsten? Okay, so that's Wednesday. So I'm glad we got that dialed up for you. Obviously, you guys know I sell them off of a day 1 or a day 3 conflict because I want to sell them on missing school for day 2. You follow? So I'm going to work with them more on day 1 and 3 if they'll work with me hard on day 2. Okay, so again, we've already covered that kind of, but I also want to know the agenda for training, so I really realize what are they going to miss? Is it really that crucial? There are certain times of training that while they should be here, give you an example, phoning on day 2, yes, massively important. But if they have a night class that's a lab at 5 p.m. on a Thursday, sucks, but I got to probably get a 30-minute PC scheduled with them for after they're done with their class on Thursday night, or get my assistant manager to do that, or work it out on Friday morning, super, super early, or whatever. They miss the phoning, but a person who misses phoning or misses anything that's having to do with school, let me remind you, they could miss. I told this to two DVMs yesterday. Day 3, let me go with day 3 for you guys, which is what, 9 to 3. The first half of day 3 is a big fast start workshop. If they're having school conflicts with training, I don't want them to have a big fast start. I actually am like, please don't try to do 20 demos. That's too many demos for you. So I don't want them to have a 30, 40 demo fast start mentality. So they can 100% miss that workshop. They can miss the 30-minute phone jam that happens, right, Kirsten? Contracts, although we take 30 some odd minutes to do, something that takes 30 seconds to do on a DocuSign. Do you guys understand that? And if they're really that sharp, I'm gonna say, read this, or I'm gonna say, you know what, there's some tax things, and I'll take 3 minutes to explain a couple things there. And I don't want to look like I'm hurried, but it's something I could literally do in 30 seconds, right? Or 3 minutes. And then after contracts, we're now in 45 minutes into training. We do PR collection and recommendations by noon. PR collections without a PR talk could be done in what? 30 seconds on the app. And say, hey, let me explain. You get this many, look at what everyone else did, Kirsten. So they have, I launched 7 people. One gave 89 names, one gave 112, one gave 68, one gave 170. And I show them the rest of the training class. And they're like, oh, all right, I'll send them. And then I scrub them with them right then and there. So that takes 4 minutes to do that. And then they miss the recommendations section of training, which that's a 20-some minute video. And it's completely independent of every other thing in training. It's not attached to the welcome talk, not attached to price value. It's not attached to the demo review. Recommendations is literally a 20-minute section of training, which I can give them the 20-minute video of. So can they miss 3 hours of day 3? And still they will sell the same amount of Cutco by watching the demo review, how to sell the Cutco owners in the big sets, and how to get on the cart. And you know what? I can give them the recommendations video day 1, day 2. I could give that video to anybody. They'd be like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to give it to them on day 1. But I'm saying, like, that's a totally independent little section. So it's actually, I could figure that out. But here's the thing. You can't just have them show up to training. I'm looking at Bucky right now, but I'm looking at everybody. You can't just have them show up to training and know that it's workoutable, figure outable. It needs to be in your mind solid, and then put in Vector Live, particularly if you're not the one running training. You're not the one that's going to be interacting with them. You cannot have that person show up. Oh yeah, Bucky said I could do this, or Connor said I could do this, or Kirsten said I could do this. That is a productivity killer, because you're pissing your manager off partially. And the other thing is now your manager has to devote all this extra time to this one problem child, and there's 9 other reps that are like normal and no issues. And those people lose the attention, right? So setting it up the right way, sticking it into a note in their Vector Live.
The notes
And-
are there?
Yeah, I don't know, look at those.
That's no problem.
So, yeah, and I'm not saying I'm perfect either. So when they show, it's something that needs to be figured out with your manager if you ran the interview for them. But, and that's what we need.
We need
A system. Yep, an SOP, okay? So we need an SOP on how we get that done. Questions or comments, real quick, come up for air. Okay. We want to address the issues, and we actually want to solve as many of them as we can. Another thing you can do, Bucky, as a district manager in training, branch manager in training, raise your hand. Right, Connor, right? You're branch manager in training, okay? You could solve it. In other words, you don't have 9 other trainees to work with. You interviewed this person, they've got the issue. You could do PR collects with them after day 3, before day, well, not before day 3, but you could do the phone. Oh, they're gonna miss phoning section. Shoot, man, I wanted the experience anyway. I'm gonna teach this guy how to phone. He'll be driving to his thing that he's got to go to up at the University of Utah. While he's driving to his thing, Phil's in training, Shay's in training, Patrick's in training. You know what? I'm going to get on the phone with him and I'm going to walk him through how to make phone calls and just say, hey, you don't want to call the kid. You don't want to set up, you want to set up with the wife. You want to offer 2 choices at times, and just for your own benefit, your own practice. You teach them phone approaches. You teach them the phone approach. You teach them on. You give them the video link to how they set up, watching Stacey Barton rather make phone calls. So it's really a fun learning experience for you to solve the issue, because you might have time and focus that your manager isn't supposed to have. Right? Any other comments? What does this do? Let me rhetorically ask that. One of the things that I will tell you, if you're too accommodating, you come across as needy. A business that lowers its prices to sell more sells less. Okay. Tony Robbins, Darren Hardy, crazy good business coaches across the country, Gary Vujicic, they tell you to raise the prices. You raise the price of rent, you get high quality renters. You lower rent, you get shishi tenants.
We should bring back the sample kit.
Yeah, right. Making people buy a kit, holy moly. They'd be really invested, wouldn't they? Now, trust me, there was an hour-long sample kit sales talk where you literally sold the reps. When Bucky was a manager, when I was a manager, we had to sell the kits, and we literally, a part of training was how to sell them to buy the sample kit. And they were invested now. Okay. The reason why we will never do that ever again is because moms and dads and everybody complain and tell them that we're making money off selling sample kits, which we're not. Okay. So, if that's how we made our business, we'd be screwed. Okay. As a company. Right. I mean, there was the $25 built into when you sold the kit, you did get $25, but that's literally paying for rope, leather, training manuals, and supplies. Nowadays it's food and pizza. Okay. So anyways, the more accommodating you become, the more needy you are. They disrespect training. You bend over backwards and they leave training before it's over. It sucks. So you want to fix it by being firm And yes, we try to accommodate and help them, and we do want them. But we don't need them. We don't beg them to work here and please go through training. And I'm not saying you guys beg, but you come across as needy. And I'm not even talking to you. I'm talking to Vector. I'm talking to the whole company. Is the managers who are certain in the quality of their training. Did you notice that, Kirsten? Were you on the beginning of training yesterday? Were you on at the beginning? And I said, hey, I just want to recognize all of you. I'm certain that every one of you has at least a time constraint or two or conflict. And I respect that. I honor that. And with that respect, I'm going to tell you that it will be worth your time. And what I'm going to teach you over the next 3 days will impact your bank account a week from now, and will impact your bank account as you go through the next few weeks with our company. And so I really respect you for being there, being here rather, and making the sacrifice. You know what I probably did? I probably got rid of like 40% of the issues. The issues that you were going to have to put up with, Kirsten, might have gone to bed because I said that at the beginning of training. Am I trying to shine the light on me? Yeah.
So profound.
And I did that the last time I ran the welcome talk when Jesse was at a job fair and then he finished training, right? Well, here's what I know. The Intermountain Division, which counts predominantly Jesse's office and my office, right? Shay's and Trina's are a little lower set for training, so the sample's lower. But the whole region, and therefore the whole company, is like, how the frick is Intermountain Division launching 63% right now? Everyone else in the region or blah, blah, blah are at 30-40% launch because they're not handling the objection. Did everyone get that? Kirsten, you said what? Some of your day 3 issues.
Yeah, when you gave that talk, we had 3 of our trainees say that they're missing their class on day 3 because they were super invested in it. So, and that also happened with 2 of our kids last night, missing their conflicts that they had this morning.
Yeah. They ditched class.
Mhm.
Right? That's not in our script. Right? But I'll tell you that I'd rather, well, you handle it, Connor, in the post, right? And you handle it to the best of your ability. But one of the things I do in the post is I'll say, hey, I want to let you know that, and you heard me say that, hey, you miss a class or 2 of a 14-week semester. In the moment, you feel like you lost some points and you're stressed about that. But when you're talking about 3 class periods a week times 14, that's 56 class periods, or whatever it is, 70, whatever the number is, 42. Okay. I'm like 42 class periods. You miss one of those, you're going to probably not even affect your grade. Even if you miss points, you probably don't even affect your grade. If you miss 3 hours of an 8-hour training day, that's 37% of a training. Do you see how that's detrimental? 3 hours is a class period and a drive to the office, isn't it? Right. So I go, listen, man, I totally get that, but I don't want to see you miss out on maybe 37% of your income. I don't want to see you miss out on 37% of your results, because it's only a 3-day training seminar, 3 sessions. So I promise you that the effort and energy put into the 3 days of training, it will turn into results in your bank account. I just want to make sure you understand that we're serious about your success. And so I promise you that it'll be worth it. So you can handle that in the post. And again, I did that in the training seminar, and I'm glad that you feel like it had a good effect. I've done now 2 of the 5 welcome talks of September, October, which is 5 weeks, right? Because this is the first, maybe it's the second. So I've run 2 of the 6 welcome talks, probably. Oh no, 2 of 5, because we went to Olean. So 2 of 5, 40% of the trainings, welcome talks were done by me. And in no way am I saying Jesse didn't do something, right? I'm just saying it's not in this SOPs, it's not in the script, but I know that it's an issue in the back of my mind, front of my mind, whatever you want to call it. So I hit on that both times, and our launch percentage has gone up quite a bit as a division. Okay. I say it all that stuff, not to get us to talk about training, but it's the same thing when it comes to the post. The more certain you are that you're giving them value, the less, or the more likely they are to figure out school stuff. We bring up the letter. Okay, let me do this for you guys. Share screens. There. And I don't know if we have to do an SOP on this. It wouldn't be horrible. And actually, I'm gonna do a different share. I'm gonna share the desktop. Okay. So look at my desktop here. All right. So I go down here. You guys see me messing around on my dock? Okay. So I go here, and I go here. And then just to make it easy, I'll open up this folder, excuse from school. Okay. So I got a pre-written letter. This is certified. Oh, this is Isaac. He's a senior in high school and he went through training. And we asked him to miss school. If, in other words, if you come to the table and say, hey man, we can actually write a letter for you to excuse you from school. And they're like, oh, okay. Like they might be sweet, or they're like, heck no, I'm a college kid. I'm not going to ask a letter for you to give me to my teacher. F that, you know what I mean? They're going to be like embarrassed if I make a letter for them. But what am I doing? I'm calling their bluff. You follow? So I'm calling their bluff that, hey, this is important. I'll write a letter for you. I'll get you out of school. Right? That's solving the issue. And most college kids won't even want that. High school kids will, but college kids won't. Comments on that? What other thoughts do we have here, Kirsten? You're banker, you're like computing and like, give me more, Phil, right? I don't know. Okay. Kirsten.
With that too, could that also be used in the same aspect of like another job?
Yeah. They're like, I'm gonna bring a letter to my other job. I'd rather get fired. Right? I hate the job anyway. But they're like worried about losing money.
Mm.
They're like, I gotta go to an unpaid training seminar to miss out on $17 an hour, $15 an hour shaving cats. I better go to work. You know what I mean? Like they think they got to go to work, and you come back at them and say, look, it'll be worth it. You'll make the money right back. Right. And you could say, I can write a letter for you so you can prove to your boss that you're only going to do this one time. I also say, hey, just want to let you know, once you're through these 3 sessions, you guys have heard me say that, hey, once you muscle through these 3 sessions of training, you literally, if we have a meeting, I'm setting the tone for advanced training. Even if we have an advanced training, or even if we have a meeting that's during another shift at your other job, we're just going to tell you to go to your other job and you'll miss our meeting and we'll get you a makeup. We'll fix it. We'll take care of you. Because if I'm willing to go with you that far, are you willing to come with me a certain distance? And the answer is yes. So I'll give them a hall pass, so to speak, on advanced training, even though they don't know they're getting a hall pass on that, right? If I have to. I still work my butt off to get everybody to advanced training. Once they love the job, they'll ditch anything for advanced training. Okay. Yeah, the letter would be good. Telling them, hey, well, once you muscle through these three sessions of training, Kirsten, even if we have a meeting later down the road, it's during the time that you have school, we're just going to tell you to miss our meeting and go to school. Does that make sense? Because it's just a one-time training. Notice that I said this is the longest Zoom meeting of your entire life when I said that about day 1 yesterday. And that's why I love day 2 so much better, so much more. And they're like, oh, sweet, I get to come to the office for 8 hours instead of looking at Zoom for 5. They're like more excited to take a longer day and do training, right? Okay, you were going to say another response there, Kirsten, and then you weren't? Okay, cool. Shay.
I don't know if you guys have already gone over it, but I've been getting more. Either people are getting promoted at their other job when they tell them that they got another job. So they're like, oh yeah, I'll tell my boss that I'm going on another training, blah, 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 whatever they do. And then their bosses are like, oh, let's just promote you instead.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've been getting. Or they just get a different job offer and they go that direction.
So you're just
because
bringing
it's
in,
more in the field of there.
right, you're just bringing more negativity into the room. Thanks. Just kidding. All right. Thoughts or questions on that? Thoughts or comments before I go with it? Patrick, Bucky, Connors, Kirsten. Okay. In my opinion, 50% of those could be either complete fabrications, lies, right? Or yes, I think when they go to the other job, the other job does want to keep them. And they're like, you know, we've been shortchanging this kid anyway. Let's finally give him 50 cents. And you know, they give him a raise, and all of a sudden they're excited about a 50-cent raise. 40 hours is $20 whole. $20 whole. And any given day of my Walgreens career, a year and a half of my life, if I would have been able to give somebody $20 to take my shift to go make my money, I would have given $20. Just sorry, little rant there for a second. Okay, does everyone understand what I'm saying? Like, come on, we're talking about an hourly job that's freaking lame, right? And why do I bring that up? I would actually maybe can say that to them. Say, hey, what was your pay raise? Oh, you got 50 cents more. Okay, well, hey, just want to say, do you like the job? I don't know if you like the job. You probably like the paycheck, right, Shay? You like the paycheck because it pays your bills, but do you like the job so much? I don't know, it's burgers, you know, blah, blah, blah.
I sneak fries every once in a while.
Right, you get free fries. Okay, that's fine. And I can understand that. And I'll tell you, hey, I'm not sure what you want to be when you grow up, but I'm not sure how much flipping burgers really is going to play into your future. Right? And I'm not dissing on the job. Trust me, I had those jobs too. Most of our reps have had those jobs too. And now they work here. And I say, so I get that you might feel like you're missing a couple dollars. But if I have this opportunity, so this is Kirsten, this is the Tuesday night if they text that. Right, Kirsten? This is in the post just as easily, right? It could be anywhere. Let me reiterate. You're not going to be able to do anything that we're talking about by text on Tuesday night. It needs to be pick up the phone and try to, if you like the person, go after it. Is the division manager going to go after anyone? Probably no. I'm going to go after someone who is about to branch, and I'm going to work with that person, not some person that's, you know, would rather flip burgers than work here, right? Or try to work here. Okay, so I'm just not going to go after that loose ball. But if I'm a new district manager, I'm going to go after that loose ball, right? If I'm an assistant manager and I ran the interview and this kid is sharp and I think Phil could turn him into an FSM, I'm going to go after him. Does everyone understand that? Bucky, you got dandruff.
I know.
He's literally like snowing as he's sitting there. And trust me, I want to do the same thing because I need to, you know, I need an energy boost here. Okay, so I know. Okay, yeah, but I'm trying to keep Shay in the picture. Okay, so so wherever this situation comes up, right? I might spell out what they're losing or gaining by missing that situation, right? And say, and I go back to, hey, most of our reps will make a couple $100 in their first weekend because the training is designed to help you get results right out of the gates. So, and I might, if they know someone on the team, I'll be like, hey, you know, this person made $600 their first paycheck. This person made $312. And the majority of our reps even just try to do 10 appointments, and 10 appointments is $210. So I know you might miss a shift or two. And by the way, once you're done with that training, let me reiterate, you can keep the other job. You can get promoted there. You can do all of that stuff if you really want to. And you can get through the 3 days of training. And I promise you that sacrifice for 3 days will be worth it over the long haul. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the other one?
Which was?
They got a job, because sometimes they're like, oh, I got like a mechanical job and I'm going to specifically that.
Mm-hmm. My drinks in the other room. Okay. Here, Kirsten, will you type a message to Patrick to go get my water? Okay. Just tell him to go, hey, Patrick, go get Phil's water. And Shay's water. Okay. Thanks. And brush your teeth. Okay. All right. So they got another job in their career.
Mhm.
Again, sometimes you're going to lose the battle, right? So let's not set up just, you know, just like when a rep asked me a question about how to close the sale, just because I give them an answer doesn't mean it's gonna work every time, right? And we all know that. So don't be too overly worried about it. A lot of these objections go away. Connection, run a better interview, better in the post. A lot of these things don't even come to light because your interview is just better. Because you scripted it like faith.
What if you feel
Okay,
like,
hold on. I want to answer the question, so don't lose that question. Okay, so I'm gonna go the same route with someone who's got another job because it's in their field. Say, hey, I honestly respect that. That's pretty impressive at 18 years of age that you got a job in mechanical engineering, like they did, but whatever. Okay, so I go, it's pretty impressive that you already got a job in the field. And boy, I can tell you, especially like CNA and medical stuff, I go, that's awesome. That's really awesome that you got a job in the medical field. She must not.
where's mine?
Kirsten, why didn't you tell her to get?
I said both.
Oh, okay, all right. Well,
I don't like you either, Patrick.
who butters his bread? Come on, guys. Okay, so, that's great that you got that. So compliment, say great job. And I want to say that, honestly, what a lot of our reps really appreciate about the job, we're looking for her water too.
Oh,
Yeah.
she said or.
Oh,
Kirsten.
okay. He
Kirsten.
said, or it's okay. Don't worry. But I'll say, hey, here's what I'll say. This is something that will be beneficial to because if you're going to be an engineer, you know that in some manner, shape, or form, you're probably going to be selling a product or selling a service or creating a business that centered around engineering. And so what most of our students find that they get out of the job is the same stuff I said earlier in the interview. They get real life people skills, communication skills, presentation skills, time management skills, things that actually help them. Plus they have a flexible job through college. So, hey, when does that other job start, Shay? In 10 days?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Well, what I will say is in the next 10 days, once training starts, you'll actually earn 2 paychecks before that other job starts, which is true, by the way. They'll earn 2 paychecks. They'll receive one, and then as they're 4 days into their other job, they'll get their second paycheck. Do you ever understand how they'll earn 2 paychecks? I go, you can actually earn 2 good paychecks before you even go into that other job. So in other words, you don't have to wait, because by the time you get your first paycheck from the other job, it'll be a month from now. So Shay, do you need to make money in the next month? Or are you okay? Just, or I don't even say that. I go, would you want to make money in the next 4 weeks?
I mean, yeah, I just don't know if I can do both. Because of
Sure.
school and-
No sweat. Well, then what I'll say is this: if you go through 3 days of training, and even if you work 15 appointments over the next, 2 weeks, that's about 1 appointment a day, you're still going to wind up making over $300 before you even start the other job. And if you at that point are feeling like, you can't do both, we can address that then, no big deal. But we actually are #1 team in the company right now, and we would love to, have you be a part of it, even if it's for a few weeks. Because we have people go on missions, we have people that work here before they start school or before they end and go on a study abroad, and they want to make some extra cash just to pay for their trip or something like that. So I'd love to work with you, even if it's necessarily maybe only for a couple of weeks, but we can see where we're at in the next couple of weeks. And then I'm okay. I release myself from her saying, sorry, no. I'm not worried about it. If she says no, I'm like, whatever. I don't say that, but I won't take it personally. But if I can make that comment and maybe it works, then it works. What was your response? And then Kirsten? Yeah, what just now? Is that helpful at least somewhat?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is helpful. I just have had a few of my sharp people do that to me these past.
Well, first things first is remember, double or triple the number of people you have in interviews. That's for everybody. Yeah.
And they've been my sharpest, where I feel like our connection and like excitement and like I feel like has been better in the.
And this is in the post that it's happening, or are you saying on Tuesday night?
No, this is in the post.
Yeah.
Where it's like the excitement's there, the relationship, like the rapport, all the things, and they're more excited then like, I'm calm about it and they're super excited. But then closer time comes to training.
Oh, so it is
no, no,
Tuesday night. It is.
then They're like, oh, I got another opportunity elsewhere.
Mhm. Okay. I feel like,
Is that still on my end of what I could have done in the interview, or?
yeah, I mean, you can't do everything. And I think, you know, the sharpest ones are hardest to recruit. Sharp people recruit sharp people. So obviously you got to a certain point where you got them recruited. And you will probably lose a couple. If it's happening to every single one of your best people, then you got to think, how are you showing up to your interview? And that's not a knock. It's not like you're doing a bad job. If it's happening to all your sharp people, there's probably something that you need to work on in your interview. If it's happening to a couple sharp people, don't stress it. And if you feel like it's too many, I'll also say we need to just always get more set for training. How did we win this summer? We had more set for training every single week than every other office in the region. So it's like some of those problems really don't matter when you got that many set for training. You're like, whatever. Right?
When you say show up to your interview though, for the sharp people, is it tone of voice?
Everything. It's maybe where you look, what's your background, it's how did you set yourself up here? You know what I mean? This part of your body, right? What's your hair look like, boy or girl, right? And then are you on point? Are you actually scripted, or are you half-assing it? Are you going through the motion? There's buttloads of district managers for the history of vector marketing that will totally go in an interview with like no, they're like, I got to run an interview. Versus I want to recruit my freaking army. I want to recruit my team. I can't wait for these people to be in training. Yeah, I got other things to do, but I need to run an awesome interview because I want these people in training. They don't show up and then there's a really sharp person and then they get excited. That's not the way to run an interview. You show up really excited for whoever shows up, and then the sharp people are like, attracted.
Oh, I think that's the problem.
Yeah. If you're looking at interviews like, right.
No, I mean, not every time, but I do go through a lot of those.
Well, we all go through mood swings. And
But then when I see sharp people, I'm like,
yeah, and that doesn't really say, right, point taken, right? And then hold on, Shay's also run probably the most interviews for the most humans in the entire region potentially in the last 20 months, right? Because of the #1 recruiting office. She's had the largest amount of opportunity to be worn out from running interviews.
Well, it's like what Mike said during the region call, like develop the one so you can develop the many.
Develop the ones that can develop many.
You need to develop the one so you can develop many. Because if you're not gonna show up for the one, then why would you show up for the many?
Talking about the rising star.
No, I'm talking, he said that for interviews this week, you weren't there.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Okay. Run a good one-person interview so that you'll run a better group interview
So
when
you
a
can't,
bunch of
like,
people
yeah.
show up. Fair enough. So in the non-harvest time, you work really hard in the non-harvest time. Okay, fair enough. Kirsten, what was your comment or question here?
So I know like handling like the objection before it happens of like them having another job, and like in our staff meeting we kind of like talked about why they would choose us or like over another job, so that they like show up for us instead of going to that other place. How do we handle the objection before it happens of like I'm looking at other jobs and like them going working at like Walmart or something because
Yeah.
they want the hourly
So they
pay.
just got another job or they still have a couple of job interviews scheduled and they're still looking at all their options.
Yeah.
If I don't set someone for training, what percentage chance do I have of them showing the training?
Yeah.
0. If I set them for training, what percentage do I have chance that they show up to training?
More likely.
More than 0, right? More than 0. So one, I don't want to seem needy. Hey, so you're that person, Kirsten. Okay. So Kirsten, that's awesome. Where are you interviewing? Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Redhead. So funny. Okay. So, all right. And we are being recorded. Okay, so yeah.
Okay.
So Kirsten, where's the other job?
Walmart.
Okay, so you're interviewing at Walmart. Is that for like a cashier job or like a stocking job or warehouse job or what?
Cashier job.
Okay, so like, have you already been a cashier before?
No.
No, you've never been a cashier?
Mm.
Okay. You should probably gotten out more after you being 16 years old. Okay, but no, but so I'll say, all right, so you've never been a cashier. That's fine. And I'm not sure what you want to be when you grow up. I know your major is blah, blah, blah. So, I respect the fact that you want to work for slave labor drivers. I'm just kidding. Okay, so I respect the fact that you want to at least finish the interview process with Walmart. That's great. And I will say this, we actually work with a lot of different people and a lot of different, do you remember when I said that earlier? How we work with lots of different types of people, that some are students, some have other jobs, some this, that. And so this is exactly that situation, Kirsten. We don't necessarily need you to work here. I'm not going to beg you to work here. But I'll tell you the experience, the resume, the real communication skills, not just like giving people change when they can't figure out how to type in the banana 4011 on the checkout line, you know what I mean? So, if you want to learn to do that, that's great. But I also want to say that the communication skills, time management skills, presentation ability, virtually and in-person training or in-person communication skills, client management, all those skills that our reps gain, it's totally worth it, frankly, for you to work here. And if you do that while you have another job, I'm totally fine by that. Also, Kirsten, I'm guessing that if you were to get the job, you wouldn't start for at least probably a couple days, if not a week or two. Would that make sense to you? Did they even tell you when you might start? Yeah, they did. Okay, great, whatever. And I say, so you wouldn't get a paycheck for about 3 to 4 weeks from now. If we get you through training tomorrow through Friday, you'll actually get a paycheck in 12 days from now. And then also you'll have the opportunity to earn at least 2 to 4 paychecks, 2, 3, or 4 paychecks before you even get a paycheck if you start working at Walmart. So again, I don't need you to work here, but I will tell you that some of our reps find it's really, really valuable to give the job a shot for that time frame, and then we kind of go from there. Does that make sense, Kirsten? Okay. I'm going to ask for the order. I say, so what if we just get you set up for training? And as long as it's not going to conflict with the starting of the other job or conflict with the interview process, why don't we go ahead and get you set up for training? Because I want to work with you. I said a minute ago, I don't need to work with them, but now I say, but I want to work with you. You can say that in the same sentence, or you can separate it by a bunch of stuff in the middle, but I said, I don't need you and I do want you. Helpful?
That's really helpful.
Shay.
Sometimes, if I need more context of what they're looking for in a job, I'll ask them as one of my questions, like, so with a job like this, like, what is your biggest goal, or what are you
Most excited about?
not what are you most excited about, but what is your biggest goal of what you're looking for in a job? What are you trying to get out of? Is it so it gives me more context, like, are they don't care, they're just looking for money? Or if they're looking for actually more experience, or if they're looking for a learning opportunity, like, it gives me more insight. So then if that objection comes up later, then it gives me more insight. Well, you said this earlier.
They sell themselves on why the job is worth it. Right? It's great. I like that. Other questions real quick? Bucky, you've been quiet.
What kind of things in the chat box during the interview would be useful to make connections with them?
It's not exactly on, I don't mind the question at all, and I can answer it quickly, but I don't want to lose our focus of
Well, I think that's
the
one of the things
post.
I have a struggle with, and the posting is I don't have a connection with them.
Okay, so that's different.
So the more I try to connect with them, it seems the less they show. Like I'm needy or something that I'm really eager to learn about their life and what their plans are.
and that would,
It would be
in no way do I want to disparage your thoughts. How many Walgreens district managers, that's what they actually call them, district managers. How many Walgreens district managers ask me if I know so-and-so from that high school? Especially if they're 44 years old. Right? Now, if someone who doesn't, if someone's 20 something years old looking, and do you know this person from that school? Oh yeah, I do. Like,
Right.
and it's weird, right? There isn't I don't, in other words, my answer was originally, I don't even try to. Although you see me do sometimes, right? But in most of the interviews that I've run, it's probably 50-50 if I even chat with anybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, and you've seen that, but sometimes I don't even bother. If I see something in their initial questions if I see something in their initial questions that I like and I remember, especially if their friend sold a lot of Cutco. It's pretty much the most important thing is if their friend sold a lot of Cutco, like, oh, how do you know John? They're like, I know him from this. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad he recommended you. I don't know if he mentioned that he's already made, like $800 working here. But we just love working with him. He's cool, isn't he? So I actually build up their friend. I don't build them up at all. Unless it's like, oh, they're a state champion. And I try to do something that's like, if you know, you know. What I mean is if they're in DECA, hey, that's awesome. I've been jugging DECA for 15 years. What was your event? They're like, I got to impress this guy. Right. So a DECA kid, I'm like, I've been judging DECA for 15 years. Or if I'm you guys, I'd be like, yeah, we're the featured employer at every DECA conference every year at the state conference. So what was your event? I judged the state event last year, right? So I want them to like impress me. Thank you, bankers. Okay. Yeah, it's you don't try too hard. I want them to try, or I totally just build up their friend. They're like, man, he says that many cool things about my friend. I want to work for this guy. You see, Bucky? Does that help? Okay, cool. Any other comments?
BYU students tend to be arrogant,
BYU,
mhm.
don't even get me started.
Oh.
And that's,
It's
we
because we're better.
all share
why.
the idea of BYU, but they kind of see it
We're-
a little bit more of an arrogance.
You
than
guys-
Utah
Sometimes
people.
return missionaries are the same.
Oh yeah, it's RMs. RMs are douche packers. Okay. Okay. People like Patrick. Okay.
Yeah.
But
I'm excited to pray about it.
return missionaries. Okay. So return missionaries are super cocky and they try to equate the job to the mission. So I don't want to do the same thing I did for 2 years or something like that. And so I actually will usually distinguish the difference in a number of ways, but I also won't put up with that in a way that's like, I'm looking at the clock, it's 8:49. Okay. But in all seriousness, now we're just like, we already said that. I already told him.
I just texted her.
Oh
Sorry,
my gosh,
Kristen.
she gets the point. Okay. 3 of you are responding. Okay. Yeah, they can be a little bit arrogant. If yeah, guys, if I got to get back into my mode now. BYU, I'm going to go with BYU students. because they take the priority. They think, because that's the teachers at BYU, they try to scare the living bejeebies out of you by telling you that for one class period, you have to do 4 hours of homework for one class period. So if you have, 4 classes, 5 days a week, whatever number of days, you multiply that by 3, the number of hours, and they scare the crap out of you. And frankly, it's dumb because it just means that they're on TikTok more often. Okay. But they literally, you guys, so the BYU students, I'm just going to be even more confident that our training is worth their time. And you know what, man? Hey, I get it. You're a sharp guy. You wouldn't have gotten to BYU if you weren't. And that's actually why you probably will have the most value taken by being at all of training. In other words, you'll probably absorb the training at an even higher level. So I'm going to feed their neediness of, being cool and smart and all that stuff. I'm like, you'll actually find that you'll get more out of the training because of, I'm not going to say it that way. I go, hey, if you're at all the hours of training, you'll actually be someone that capitalizes the most on the training. By the way, in Boston, they hate Harvard kids. In Chicago, they hate Northwestern kids. You know what I mean? Everyone in LA hates USC kids.
Hey,
Okay.
that's my dad.
So in all seriousness, it's not just BYU, right? So just understand that's local, right? But so oh yeah, for sure. Okay. Fair enough. Me estás matando. Okay.
She's the one who's typing.
Okay. Stop it. Okay. All right. So okay. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Okay.
She's taken.
All right. Are we cool? Is that helpful? Other jobs, Connor, BYU kid. I'm sure you understand that, most jobs for college kids are like 20 hours or bust. Like they expect you to work 20 hours and it's like certain shifts, certain days. So what I'll say, Connor, is here you actually could, do all you need to do at BYU and focus on your education. Frankly, sometimes people that, are sharp and they follow the program, they'll work 7 hours a week here and they'll make more than they would make in a 20-hour week job working hourly. So I actually look at you as someone that could have that same type of result. It's not an experiment. It's not even a question. The program that we run for our students is something that helps literally sell. We're the number one office in the company. We're the number one division in growth for the company and new business sales. And you're a type of person that would probably add to that figure for sure, even if you were to only be working 7 hours a week. And I'm sure the other job won't let you work 7 hours a week and actually consider you an employee anymore, but the cool thing is that's what a lot of our reps actually do right now. And we're number one in the company. So I actually would love to work with you on that schedule. Now I have the chance to schedule them for training and have a chance that they show. And I also, when they show, they respect the training. Again, I'll go back to that. Is that if I get someone to show some bribery, wimpy, needy way, please come to training and we'll work on it. I promise we'll figure something out, right? They will never stop disrespecting training and disrespecting a team meeting and disrespecting anything we do for them, versus when I hold a harder line saying, hey man, it's a one-time training. And so I want to help you and I'm going to work with you if you can work with me. But I promise you that the results you get, like literally we have the highest results in the company. And so as long as you stick with me and work with me on all these situations, I can promise you that the sacrifice of anything you miss, we're going to make sure it's worth your time. And I give them, hey, you got 2 days. Why don't you email your teacher right when we hang up the phone? Or when we're done here, I want you to email your teacher. And you've got my phone number. I want you to call me or text me and let me know, tell your teacher, hey, it's a one-time training for another job that once you're through training, you never have to worry about school ever again. I'm not going to expect they're going to actually email that to their customer, to their teacher, but I'm telling them in saying you should email your customer this, I'm really just saying you should think this way. So tell your teacher it's a one-time training for a job that once you're through the training, you never have to do any type of conflicts ever again with school or anything like that. So if you could tell your customer, tell your teacher that, and then see what happens from there, I bet you they're going to be pretty understanding. In other words, you get your butt training, bro. Don't be a sissy pants. Figure it out. I assign them to text or call or do whatever their teacher. And then they're like, dude, I got to figure this out. He's not backing down. Whoever's most what? Certain will always influence the other person who's not as certain. I guess that's a good way to wrap this up, isn't it? If you guys think of it, we have another call tomorrow, 3:30. I think when everyone gets to the call tomorrow at 3:30, we'll have a pretty solid conversation of things that we just covered, and we can give them this recording. But I can promise you that if you can take what we just went over and in the next 12 whatever hours, 14, 15 hours, think, oh, we didn't cover this one. Phil covered, we did a lot of stuff. Guys, I'm here. Stop it. Connor's texting and looking at you guys or doing whatever. Oh, are you reacting to me?
Isaac just joined. That's what I was reacting to.
Yeah, it's because he did a demo. Okay,
Poop
so
in his pants.
poop in his pants. Isaac. Okay, all right. So and again, my assignment to all of you is in the next 16, 17 hours. Think of any other situation that you think would be valuable for us to discuss. Again, if we can get one more, if every one of us on TLA got one more person to show for the next 7 more weeks and show with the intentions to sell Cutco and succeed and not wimp out in the middle of training, right? We'll launch 20, 30 more people just from bringing 1 or 2 more per, again, not just the show to training, but the fact that they launch with better mentality about selling Cutco. That makes sense? So we're trying to get those little wins, a few more show, a few more launch over the course of a couple of months, multiply that by 10, 20 of us in TLA. Now we're talking about 20, 30, 40, 50 recruits. Okay. That's a lot different sales report for every office. Okay. We continue to lead. And by the way, you guys getting good at this in the next 45 days means when we start learning training, you're also going to be more certain. You're also going to be, soaking up training that way too. I guess the last thing I'll say is it's a vectorism. If you're not on a demo, and if you're not literally running an interview or doing school work, I would suggest that you are doing something that's doing one of 3 things: creating recruits, creating demos, i.e. PCs, field training, phone time of your own, or getting other reps on the phone, or getting into the phone jam. So doing something that creates recruits, conveyor, blah, blah, something that creates demos, or look at me, you're on Zoom watching training, or on Zoom watching Jesse running the last half of an interview, on Zoom watching me do a PC, some manner, shape, or form, accidentally absorbing information that you will then someday forget and not even know you have it in your brain, and something will just come out of you like it was accidental, but it actually is something you intrinsically, subconsciously learned, because that also does help you next summer. You guys, it actually is learning by osmosis. You can't do that with the textbook, but just wandering around the vector world, you'll pick up things that you didn't even know you picked up sometimes. So the idea is that you get, without burning yourself out and thinking you have to be at every vector thing we ever do, just instead of being on your phone, instead of doing whatever, you ought to go to the, get on Zoom or come to the office or whatever, and you accidentally wind up learning things that you wouldn't have learned otherwise. It just makes everybody's sales bigger next summer. Okay. So, and these little conversations are really good right now. Okay. All right. Anyways, thank you for being here, guys. Appreciate you. I'm Delirious.